So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone so much for joining today, our Innovation Campus Community webinar. We're going to do just a couple housekeeping items really quickly before we get started, and then we're just going to zoom on in. So Gloria Mar, can I pass it over to you to give instructions about interpretation?
Absolutely. Hola a todos, soy Gloria Mar Gámez, soy la directora de programas. Hello everyone, I'm Gloria Mar Gámez, Chief of Program Officer, y les voy a dar las instrucciones cómo escuchar esto en español. En la parte de abajo, donde dice More, hay 3 puntitos, ahí le dan clic y después van a ver un globo que dice Interpretation o interpretación, ahí le pican y entonces pueden escoger Spanish o español y van a escuchar la traducción simultánea de la presentación que vamos a dar. Y ahora se lo voy a pasar a Bri. Bri, back to you.
Thank you, Gloria Mar. I'll give you a couple seconds to make sure that you're in the Spanish channel if you need to be Spanish interpretation. We have Cristina is a wonderful interpreter, so very excited to have her on our team today. Great. So let's go ahead and jump in. So my name is Bri Gonzalez. I'm the Senior Manager of Community Partnerships with Beam Circular. Very excited for today because today is the first of many community outreach and engagement around the Innovation Campus. So you can kind of think about it as a kickoff. Really exciting. We recently, well, actually, I'll wait and let Karen talk more about the campus itself. But like I said, today it's first of many, so we're going to ask for you guys to be involved as much as possible with the outreach of engagement with the campus. And so today's focus is really about community. It's not only about informing what Beam is and what the campus is and its functions, but also how you guys can get involved because we will need you to be along on this ride with us. So with that, we want to start really quickly. So I'll hand it over to our CEO, Karen Warner, to take us through it.
All right. Thanks so much, Bri, and thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Karen Warner. I'm the CEO of Beam Circular. We are a local nonprofit organization based right here in the North San Joaquin Valley. Our office is in Modesto, and we work across San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced counties in particular. And this webinar is focused especially on a flagship project that Beam Circular is building called the California Bioeconomy Innovation Campus. And this webinar is specifically designed for local residents and community members here in the North San Joaquin Valley. If you happen to be a business or a scientist or a partner from outside the region interested in the Innovation Campus, welcome. We're excited you're interested too, and our team will continue to put out information and opportunities to engage if you are someone interested in using the campus as a business or innovator or entrepreneur. Today's session, though, is really all about our neighbors and our family members here in the North San Joaquin Valley who may not be running a circular bioeconomy business, but are excited about learning more about this project and ways it may impact and support our local communities and neighborhoods. So with that, I'm going to give a little bit of background and introduction to what Beam Circular is and what the circular bioeconomy is. That might be a new word to some folks. So we want to give you a little bit of background on just the big picture of this work and why this project came to be. And then we're going to get into details on the Innovation Campus and the status of it, and what comes next, and most importantly, ways that local community members and residents can be involved. So to jump right into the background here, Beam Circular, as I mentioned, is a local nonprofit organization, and really the core of our work is partnership. We work with community members, businesses, scientists, farmers, education institutions, government entities, and labor organizations and more. We work with a lot of different partners to help develop what we talk about as the circular bioeconomy so that it can grow and thrive here in the Central Valley. The mission of this work is to build shared community prosperity, including good jobs, and a healthy environment for all. We believe that every person should have access to a good job, clean air and water, and a thriving community. So that grounding and that mission is really at the core of this project and everything that we do at Beam. The history of our work and the Innovation Campus that we're going to be talking about today was local and regional economic development efforts that centered on community and really planning efforts that go back now over 5 years here in our local region, that started with Stanislaus County and then quickly expanded to be part of broader regional planning across the North San Joaquin Valley, including San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced counties, to imagine what might we do here in our region to create better access to higher paying jobs. How could we build upon our historic strengths and welcome in new industries that expand economic opportunity in our region? And a lot of analysis and community input and planning resulted in identifying a growing industry called the circular bioeconomy, or bio-based production and manufacturing, a big growing global industry, as a really ripe opportunity for our region to develop a stronger, more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable economy. So Beam Circular was launched now about 3.5 years ago in January of 2023 to serve as really a coordinating hub to help bridge the different partners, community, businesses, scientists, and more to help attract and grow this opportunity industry here in our home region of the North San Joaquin Valley. So many of you on this call are our neighbors and friends here in the Valley, and you know that this is a really special place. We live very much in many ways in a truly special valley of abundance. California statewide produces 1 in 4 bites of food consumed in the United States, and actually 40% of America's fresh fruit, nuts, and vegetables. So the healthy produce that goes onto families' tables across the country and really around the world, much of it comes from right here in the Central Valley, because the Central Valley is really the engine of California's agricultural production. We're among the most fertile, meaning agriculturally productive places on Earth. And most importantly, we are home to a truly vibrant and diverse and really innovative population and really incredible communities across the Central Valley. We also have a lot of challenges in this valley of abundance. Despite being such a leader in agricultural production and putting food on many tables around the world, local communities have long and historically really struggled in a number of ways. Over half of children in our region grow up in families who struggle to make ends meet. Most of those kids have at least one working adult in the household. So people are working 1 or 2 or more jobs to put food on their own tables, but struggling to have, sufficient wages in the jobs where they're working to really make it work here in the Central Valley. We also have some of the highest rates of childhood asthma in the country because we have really poor air quality. This map here on the right of this slide shows is basically a representation of many different measures of environmental pollution and burden and intersections with public health challenges. So regions in red or orange have the highest rates of challenges as it relates to environmental burden and negative health consequences. That intersects a lot with higher rates of poverty. And you can see that here in the North San Joaquin Valley, we are among the regions in the state that face some of the greatest challenges in these areas. We also, alongside our incredible agricultural production, we generate a lot of side streams or waste streams that come out of food and agriculture. It's also natural for there to be waste streams coming out of any place where there is human activity. If we're eating food, there's going to be pits and peels and scraps and things that come out of our food system. There's also going to be green waste and sewage waste and other things that are organic materials. And there's especially a lot of this in a food and agricultural region. Across California, we are on track to produce over 56 million tons of what's called biomass waste or organic waste. So these are things like food scraps and agricultural residues, nuts and shells, and woody biomass, or the material that comes from orchards at the end of their lifespan. In forested areas of California, there's excess woody material when we clear our forests to prevent wildfires. The extra wood that we're clearing out to help protect our forest health, that is excess biomass that needs a home so that it doesn't get burned. All of this adds up to a lot of material every single year. And actually, just in our Tri-County region of San Joaquin, Stanislaus, and Merced counties, we're on track to produce 4 million tons of waste biomass every year in the coming decade. And that's enough to fill a line of shipping containers from Los Angeles to Portland, Oregon every single year. So we produce a lot of material, a lot of really delicious food, but also a lot of side streams and waste streams. And when those waste streams are not properly managed, or if they end up in landfills, if they decompose in open air or they're burned, they create a lot of pollution, both local water and air pollution, but also greenhouse gases that help to warm our climate and have really long-term impact on our planet. These waste streams are also really costly for both farmers and food processors and businesses and communities to manage, including and especially in California, where we have regulation at the state level that has encouraged us to make sure that food waste and green waste don't end up in landfills. Local cities and communities have to find new ways to manage these waste materials. So this is sort of an additional challenge that we are grappling with here in the Central Valley. Fortunately, and this is where Beam Circular and the project that we are developing with the Innovation Campus is really excited, is we have an opportunity to reimagine this challenge as an untapped asset and resource for our community. So as we are producing healthy food, we are also producing a lot of these side streams, things like shells and grape pomace, which is the mush left behind from wine making, or tomato pomace, which is what's left behind when you make pizza and pasta sauce from tomatoes. We have scraps and pits and peels and sweet potato coals, and again, orchards at the end of their lifespan. There's a lot of this material. And this material can be used to make many different bio-based products. So you can take things like nutshells and turn them into useful products like bio-based materials to make food packaging. You can turn some of these waste streams into textiles, the literal clothes that you wear, the toys that you buy for your kids. Some of these food processing side streams can be turned into really delicious food ingredients. So instead of it being a waste stream, we actually can turn it into a food product if we process it in the right way, and really can use the nutrients from things like olive pomace, which is left behind from olive oil making. It's 85% of the olive. When you go to an olive oil processor, 85% of that olive is really usually just left behind as waste after they press it for the oil, but it still has a lot of nutrients in it that could be used for useful products that are actually really supportive of our health. Some of these materials can also be turned into sustainable aviation fuels or maritime fuels, biodiesel, and other things that are lower emission than fossil fuels. And then also, really excitingly, inputs for agriculture like fertilizer, compost in all of its many forms, which is such an important use of many of these materials, bio-based herbicides and pesticides, for example, that are alternatives to toxic versions of those products. So there's a lot of different things that we can make using the power of biology and using these many different types of plant-based waste streams or side streams. A lot of our farmers and growers think of these as byproducts or co-product opportunities, because if you're say you're growing almonds, there's an opportunity to make sure that you're not only using the almond kernel that we eat, but also the shell, the hull that surrounds the almonds, and even at the end of its lifespan, the tree itself, to make sure that we are creating as much value as possible for every drop of water and every input that we put into our food and ag system. So Beam Circular focuses on advancing the big tent of businesses and technologies that we talk about as being part of the circular bioeconomy, or this big industry sector that takes agricultural, food, and forestry waste and side streams, also called feedstocks or biomass inputs. There's lots of words that people use for the input materials, but essentially these plant-based or organic materials, we are supporting a wide range of businesses and technologies that turn those materials into many different types of end products. On the technology side, here in the middle, what we've labeled conversion, there's a lot of different innovative ways that we can use these bio-based resources to create new value. Some of these technologies are what's called biological pathways or bio-based biological technologies to create new products. So those are things like fermentation. This is really familiar to many of us here in the Valley because fermentation is what we use to make cheese or wine. There's different types of fermentation we can use to do basically the same thing we've been doing for hundreds of years, which is transform these plant materials and organic materials into a new end product that we eat or we use in a useful way. Some of these technologies use advanced chemical reactions and chemical engineering to restructure the way that these materials are produced and how they perform. And some things called thermochemical technologies use heat in really targeted ways. This is very different, importantly, from open burning or open combustion. We are specifically supporting technologies that are alternatives to burning and that don't result in additional pollution. So the exciting thing is that this is a really big and growing sector. Lots of different types of technologies, lots of different types of businesses, and really valuable globally. This is considered to be a $4 trillion growing global industry when we think about all of the different bio-based manufacturing or circular bioeconomy activities that are coming online in the next few years. And so we have an opportunity here in the Central Valley to be leaders in advancing these types of innovations and attracting these types of activities to our region. A few very, very quick examples, because I know it always helps to imagine what are the types of companies we're talking about. And the relevance here is that these are the types of businesses and technologies that this innovation campus we're going to talk about will support. So a few quick examples. These are all companies that are part of the Beam Circular portfolio. So businesses that we have directly worked with and who are actively using agricultural side streams, waste streams, or byproducts from the North San Joaquin Valley to make their products and develop their technologies. So Supercarb is an example of a company that's making high performance clothing from agricultural side streams and waste streams that is more environmentally friendly than alternatives and doesn't have any of the toxic chemicals that are often treatments for the clothes that we wear. Ruby Bio is a company that's taking ag residues, including now almond hulls and shells, and producing fossil fuel free biosurfactants, which is really a core input or building block that goes into soaps, cosmetics, and even food ingredients. So this is one of these ingredients that is sort of invisible that we don't even know is in so many of our products, and historically has been made with fossil fuels or petrochemicals. But now we can make this really important chemical using bio-based, non-toxic ingredients, which is really cool. Caribou Biofuels is a company that's headquartered in Modesto and manufacturing its equipment right here in Stanislaus County. And they have a mobile unit that can go into rural communities, into forested regions, out onto farm sites, and they can take waste materials and produce low carbon liquid biofuels, as well as what's called sequestered carbon products, basically bio-based materials that you can put into construction materials or into the soil to support water retention and soil health on farmland and elsewhere. Optimized Foods, up here in the corner, this is a company that was founded in Davis that is now scaling and growing in our region. They use a fermentation-based technology to create really delicious food ingredients using these upcycled or reused materials and side streams from things like tomato and olive processing. So they make things like an alternative to cocoa that's more environmentally friendly, and they have a wide range of products that are coming online, which we're really excited to see. Tasty Tape is a company that's in our current accelerator program, which supports early stage startups to grow their innovation. And they make a plastic cling wrap that can be used to package your food. So if you go to 7-Eleven and you buy a sandwich and you rip the packaging off the top of that sandwich, they produce a replacement for that plastic that is bio-based. So it's fully biodegradable. It's also non-toxic, so it doesn't have some of the forever chemicals that people are increasingly worried about will affect our health. And they can make this material using food processing waste, which is really cool. And they're very well positioned to scale right here in our region and create really good jobs. Planta Bio is a locally founded company by a local, started by a local farmer who grew up in Turlock, Edgar Perez, who takes agricultural waste and side streams to make bio-based ag inputs like fertilizer and bio-based herbicides and other pest control products. So this is an example of really what we would call a circular solution, where you're taking some of these side streams off the field, you're making a product that then can come back into the field and replace the use of more harmful chemicals and help farmers be more productive and have really successful growing seasons. So hopefully this gives you a sense of the wide variety of organizations and companies and technologies that are out there making lots of different products using the power of biology and the power of the resources that we have right here in this region. So with a little bit of a sense of what we're talking about with the circular bioeconomy and what this industry is, the reason that we, Beam Circular, exist and are growing this region, or this opportunity right here in our region, is that the North San Joaquin Valley is really uniquely suited. We are best suited really in the world to become a hub for scaling innovation in this space. And we really are positioned to lead the world in this innovative type of bio-based manufacturing. So because we are one of the most crop diverse regions in the country and the world, we grow over 200 commodities just here in our Tri-County region of the North San Joaquin Valley, right here. We have a lot of different types of materials in large quantities that we can test and validate and ultimately use as inputs for large-scale manufacturing. We also have existing workforce capabilities and logistics and supply chains and infrastructure really well suited for manufacturing, because we're really a world leader in food processing and food manufacturing, which is very, very similar to bio-based product manufacturing. And we have all of these strengths right in the heart of the broader Central Valley. We work at Beam with communities up and down the valley who are looking to build and expand the bioeconomy in their own communities. We're right next door to the forested Sierras region, and we're also next door to the San Francisco Bay Area, where there's a lot of technology innovation and investment happening in biotechnology and in this growing bioeconomy. But a lot of the companies that might be coming out of the San Francisco Bay Area, they want to be able to scale where the food and agriculture and manufacturing capabilities are, and that's right here in the Central Valley. So we're really well positioned in all of California to help really leverage California's entire strengths to grow this industry. And as we do that, we will be demonstrating and developing innovations that will really benefit communities even well beyond our own. Because as this sector grows, we are able to prove out technologies and models that other communities will benefit from, as well as they grow their own circular bioeconomy opportunities. So all of our work really does happen through partnership. Beam Circular's job is to help support collaboration and investment into this growing sector, to create the enabling environment. So all the things that need to happen and exist for this industry to grow and scale in our region. And that happens through collaboration with community members and community-based organizations, with scientists, with farmers, manufacturers, entrepreneurs, investors, government, education, training providers, labor unions, and beyond. The current members of our partner network, which we call CBio Collaborative, are some of the folks listed here on this slide. And it's a really diverse coalition of early stage companies, multinational leading manufacturers, food and agricultural partners, our education and university and community college partners, and workforce training partners. Again, really leading innovation and scientists, local government, et cetera. So this is a really broad coalition, and I wanted to share this to note that the Innovation Campus we're going to talk about doesn't exist in a vacuum. And while this is our first official webinar on the Innovation Campus specifically, the plans for the Innovation Campus have been shaped over the last 3 years and actually 2 years of planning before Beam even launched, with the input of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of community members and partners who have guided and shaped our strategy, who have helped us design the initial plans for the Innovation Campus, who were part of shaping the criteria for where this campus should even be located, and who were important early investors in making this project happen. So I really want to thank the partners who are currently part of CBio Collaborative, who've participated in any of our planning activities. And I especially want to thank local community members who have been showing up to our community engagement and information and work sessions and workshops over the last 3 years to give your input and guidance to shape what we get to share with you today as the plans for the campus. All right. I think this is my last slide or two, just with a little bit of grounding, and then we're going to get into the specifics on the Innovation Campus. I just wanted to share a little bit about kind of the broader scope of what Beam Circular does as an organization. So we offer a lot of different types of resources to community, businesses, and education partners, and local government partners as well. That includes services and grants, funding to support workforce development and education activities, so that as we grow the bioeconomy, the good jobs created in this sector are accessible to local residents, and that students and workers here in our community have the skills required for this growing industry. We have activities in the research and innovation realm to help advance innovation so that we can unlock the power and opportunity of our local residues and byproducts or waste streams. We do a lot of support for businesses as well as economic development activities to make sure that we have the right infrastructure here in this region and that we attract companies and new employers to this region. We offer funding support and technical assistance, as well as we support partnerships between businesses and other business partners or community partners as they grow their companies here. We have an entire community prosperity program. You met Bree earlier, our senior manager for community partnerships, who helps lead that work on our team. And that includes extensive and continuous work directly with communities so that as we grow the bioeconomy, our work itself at Beam is directly guided by and really owned by local community members who represent the vast and diverse and vibrant community that we have here in the North San Joaquin Valley. And then also we are helping to develop education opportunities for local youth, for community members who want to lean into this space and become leaders themselves in the growing bioeconomy, and developing creative new projects and programs to make sure that local communities benefit and actually can develop new wealth building opportunities across the bioeconomy supply chain. We do work around public policy and helping folks in both directions, helping policymakers understand the bioeconomy and the needs and desires of our local community, and then also helping community and businesses navigate government programs and incentives and regulations. And then finally, we have several anchor projects in our portfolio, including a startup accelerator program, which supports really visionary entrepreneurs and early stage startups with mentorship and funding and access to partners to help them grow their businesses. I mentioned we have a partner network called CBio Collaborative. We have a data portal that we are developing, which offers shared information for innovators, community members, agricultural partners to access information about the bioeconomy and specifically how much biomass we have of different types and what it can be used for. And then finally, we have a flagship project called the California Bioeconomy Innovation Campus, and that has a yellow outline around it because that is the focus of the rest of this webinar. So hopefully this gives folks a little bit of a sense of the context for the Innovation Campus, as well as sort of the broader range of activities that Beam Circular leads. And please reach out if you're interested in chatting with us about any of the rest of the services or programming that we lead as an organization. We're going to focus the rest of our time on this webinar on the Innovation Campus itself. All right. Oh, you know what? Before I move on, I'm going to talk about the campus. I wanted to note that please feel free to use the chat or ask a question function in Zoom to submit your questions. We have a couple team members, including Gloria Mar, our Chief Program Officer, and Adrian McKee, who's our Head of Campus Development, who are going to be doing their best to answer questions as we go. We're probably going to need to use the full time for just information. If we can, we'll answer a few questions live at the end, but for the most part, we're going to be trying our best to answer your questions directly in the chat. Anything we don't get to, we're going to take down, and we will share at the end opportunities for follow-up engagement with us, and we'll be sharing responses to FAQs on our website on a rolling basis as we continue to have these information sessions with the community. So feel free to throw your questions in the chat as you have them, or save them for the end because we might answer them as we go. All right. And with that, I'm really excited to share updates about the California Bioeconomy Innovation Campus. If you don't know what this project is, don't worry, we're going to explain the whole thing. So this flagship Beam project is designed to be a true global center of excellence for scaling or growing circular bioeconomy innovation, or zero waste biomanufacturing. This is a shared facility that will provide services and shared equipment and resources for businesses and entrepreneurs who are advancing technologies in this space and need help maturing their technologies, basically doing development of their technology so that they can grow their business and stay and grow here in the North San Joaquin Valley to create jobs. Many of these businesses need shared infrastructure, equipment, or services to help them grow their company or grow and demonstrate or prove their technology. And that is what this campus specializes in. This will be the first facility in California, in the United States, and really in the world that is specifically specializing in circular biomanufacturing, meaning the type of manufacturing and bio-based production that we are focused on at Beam, using diverse waste streams and side streams of existing food, ag, municipal, and forestry activities. So all these plant-based and biomass resources that we're talking about, using these different materials as inputs for bio-based products. This is a really a specialization that's unique to our region and where we have an opportunity to be leaders in California, nationally, and beyond. This project will also support community partnerships and education activities, and we'll chat more in detail about these activities as we go. This project is being launched with $17 million in existing funding that we have already secured. This funding has all come from government sources, including an initial $1.2 million in seed funding or pre-development funding from Stanislaus County from their American Rescue Plan Act funds. Because of that initial seed funding, which has supported design and engineering, the pre-development work to create this project and bring it to life. Because of that initial seed support, this campus is being sited in Stanislaus County, which also is the central of our 3-county region. Although it's being sited in Stanislaus, this is very much a regional asset, and we're really grateful to that initial seed support from Stanislaus County that has allowed us to create and stand this project up. North Valley Thrive at the regional level has brought in additional really important funding as part of this capital stack. They've provided $1.8 million, which has allowed us to advance this project. And then finally, the state of California has contributed a total of $15 million so that we can establish phase 1 of the Innovation Campus. So we're so excited to already have this funding in hand. Some of the state funding includes an allocation through the 2025 California State Budget Act. So we have really strong buy-in from Sacramento and statewide resources to support this project in recognition that this campus will be transformative, not only for the North San Joaquin Valley, but really for the entire state of California, because it really will be a global hub for advancing innovations that unlock opportunities for rural and agricultural communities across the state. So just a little bit about kind of the core of the need for this facility from the business and technology perspective. So what does it mean to be a pilot or demonstration scale facility or a scale-up facility? In essence, when you have a bio-based product or technology, there's a lot of work that already has happened in incredible ways at what's called the research and development phase of developing technologies in this space. So there are a lot of companies and technologies out there that have been proven at the micro scale or at the lab bench scale. So say taking almond shells and turning them into a biodegradable material. You can do that in maybe, say, the size of a milk jug pretty easily in a university lab or a private lab or at the national lab at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, 80 minutes away from us in Emeryville and the East Bay. They have a pilot unit that helps folks at earlier scales to develop their technologies. However, you can't jump from producing your product in that small scale, say the size of a milk jug. You can't immediately go jump to producing your product and doing manufacturing at what's called commercial scale. So at full commercial scale, where you are developing your product for real markets in a larger production in a large production setting, and really have a business that can continue to sustain itself and make and have revenues so that you can create and retain jobs. We really want to get businesses to commercial scale, because if we don't do that, we're really losing out on opportunities to create local jobs and have opportunities to use these waste streams in more sustainable ways. So Beam's focus is really on attracting and growing commercial scale activities. To do that, we need to help people and help these companies and technology innovators through the scale-up phase. So that includes what's called pilot and demonstration or demo scale production. So this would be taking your technology, and instead of turning almond shells into a new material in the size of a milk jug, you're going to do it in the size of a bathtub, maybe at pilot scale, and the size of a swimming pool at demo scale. And it's important to do this as a company or an innovator, because bio-based technologies can perform differently at these different sizes. So you have to prove that your technology is going to work at all of those levels of scale in order to get to commercial biomanufacturing. The problem is it's really expensive to build your own pilot or demonstration scale facility. And so what most startups and companies or innovators do or need to do is they need shared equipment, they need shared infrastructure, and they need services and support that help them through that pilot and demonstration scale phase. That is the focus of the Innovation Campus, is helping people bridge the gap between laboratory research and real world impact. That is what we are focused on, is reducing the barriers to getting things into the commercial market so that we can create good jobs in our community and support positive environmental outcomes. So we're getting really brilliant innovation out of the lab, helping to develop it at that intermediate or pilot and demo scale, so that these businesses can grow and succeed here in our region. So that's kind of the nature of scale up and what we mean when we talk about pilot and demo scale services. Some examples of what the heck this actually looks like in practice at the campus. The Innovation Campus will have things like office spaces for entrepreneurs and startups who are here in our community. It'll have shared lab space. So again, you don't have to go pay to build your own lab. You can have shared lab space where you can be developing your technology. We'll have indoor and outdoor technology areas so that if you have your own machine that maybe you've made, you have a place that you can quickly and easily locate that, test machinery or equipment, or you might be able to access shared equipment so that you can test things out with another company who's going to pay to use it part of the time. So, shared access to utilities and infrastructure, as well as feedstock or those input materials, all make it easier for these companies to come to our region, and importantly, to validate their innovations so they can grow. Other types of equipment in this facility will include things like gas fermentation, which is a really cool advanced technology that can take gases like methane, which comes off of wastewater treatment plants or dairy digesters. It can take that methane and turn it into useful products. There's very few places in the entire world that specialize in this technology, but it's a growing sector, and it's one that has great promise to create new value here in the region. We're really excited to have the first open access pilot unit for gas fermentation in North America right here in the North San Joaquin Valley at our Innovation Campus. We will also offer other types of fermentation equipment and capabilities, as well as what's called upstream and downstream processing. So the equipment that helps process your raw materials or turn it into a final product after a step of processing in the middle. We'll have resources for folks who are creating alternatives to traditional plastics, so bio-based alternatives to fossil fuel-based plastics that are non-toxic and biodegradable. So these are examples of the types of equipment and services or capabilities that will be available at this campus. The big picture is lots of different types of equipment, different services, and shared space so that companies and innovators from our community and from all around the world can come here to develop their innovation and be on the path to then stay in our region and create significant jobs and new opportunities through this growing sector. Also at this campus, in addition to all the ways that we will be serving businesses who can be, they can rent space, they can get our services, they can rent equipment, all of the services that we offer to businesses will be also connected with a variety of services and offerings for local community members and education partners, as well as opportunities to advance some co-benefits in around conservation and sustainable practices. So some of the things that will take place on this campus over time as we build it out will include a community visitor center for hosting the general public, as well as student field trips and policymakers and local businesses and folks who want to learn more about the circular bioeconomy and ways that they can plug in and support its growth. We're really excited to partner really closely with workforce training providers and education partners for training opportunities and learning opportunities for students and others on this campus. We really want this to be truly a place of pride for the local North San Joaquin Valley community. We want to integrate community art, and we also are leveraging outdoor space associated with our campus site to develop projects and partnerships and research opportunities that support local natural resource conservation, as well as soil, water, and clean energy innovation. So this will really be a hub for a lot of different types of activities. And most important is this is really meant to be an asset for our community and an opportunity to bridge the gap between science and innovation and business and industry development with local communities and students and educators. And so we are super excited to collaborate with you all and with our many partners to realize the opportunity for this to be a space that brings light and opportunity and inspiration to the North San Joaquin Valley. So I'm just going to chat a little bit about where this Innovation Campus is going to be located. We had a process that spanned over a year to identify the best site possible to develop this Innovation Campus. It's a really unique and special project, and it really needed a unique and special site. So over the course of the past year, with a lot of input from both our users and business partners and what they needed, engineers and kind of environmental design considerations, and then input from our community steering committee on the criteria for the Innovation Campus site, we developed quite a robust set of criteria. We had a public call for site proposals that went out to all of the cities in Stanislaus County so that we could identify priority sites across the region that might be well suited for the Innovation Campus, and we evaluated all of those proposals that came in from across the county, and we did a really robust search. So some of the criteria that were really top of mind for us is we wanted to make sure we selected a site in an existing industrial zone so that we wouldn't have any conversion of agricultural land for this project. We wanted to ensure that the site offered capabilities so that this could function as a community resource. So that's things like, considering the green space or outdoor space that might surround the campus and whether that would offer additional, partnership opportunities or outdoor learning opportunities, as well as safe public access. We also wanted the project to be, appropriately separated from residential neighborhoods. There are activities happening at this Innovation Campus that are industrial in nature. That's part of why we wanted a site in an industrial zone. And so the site is over 2,500 feet away. The site we've selected is actually specifically a half-mile away from the closest residential area, so that daily operations, if there's some trucks coming in to bring the feedstock or a bunch of visitors and school buses for field trips, that's not going to affect nearby neighborhoods and residents. Relatedly, we wanted to ensure that there was an opportunity for any truck traffic. Although this is not a large-scale commercial operation, it's much smaller than the manufacturing activities that already happen in our region. We still wanted to be thoughtful about avoiding truck traffic going through any residential areas in terms of access to this space. And we wanted to ensure that it would be safe for visitors, businesses, users, deliveries, et cetera, to access the site. We very much considered access to feedstock or those biomass resources, so being able to source locally for the inputs to this campus. General accessibility, so wanting to not be in a residential area, but also wanting to be accessible, including by public transit for local community members and students and others, so that this can be a community asset that people can visit and take advantage of. And then also proximity to workforce training providers, community colleges, universities, and other institutions who can be, folks sending interns or other sorts of, partnerships to make sure that we're integrating really well with local educational partners. So these were some of the, really important criteria that helped guide our site selection. And through that process of narrowing down and evaluating sites across all of Stanislaus County, we announced just a few weeks ago our preferred site has been selected. We are in process right now of finalizing negotiations on this site, but we're excited to share with you the update that we have selected this preferred site, and we are in the process of finalizing the contracts so that we can really activate the Innovation Campus in the next this year. So we're excited to share that the site selected is located in the Beard Industrial District, which is in Modesto, California, in Stanislaus County. The site in the Beard Industrial District is, which is it's a large manufacturing area. It's an industrial zone, existing industrial district in our region. And the site the vision for the campus and where we plan to develop includes an existing 20,000 square foot warehouse, which we will be converting for what we call phase one of the project. So this existing building 20,000 square feet will be upgraded and renovated so that we can use it for initial operations and service offerings. And we're going to be bringing that online toward the end of this year and the beginning of next year. We expect to be offering initial operations. So we're working to activate phase one very, very quickly so that we can start expanding the Innovation Campus and bringing the benefits to our region. At the same time, as we activate phase one of the campus, we will be developing a new building on this 9-acre parcel that's just south of the existing building. And that's where we will be building over time, 100,000 square foot broader facility with indoor and outdoor space, as well as opportunities to co-locate or site right next door to the Innovation Campus for aligned projects. So basically, we've got a phase one in an existing building so that we can move quickly and bring services online, and a phase two and beyond that will be a broader build out. This location is located right next door to a couple hundred acres of farmland and undeveloped land that leads down to the Tuolumne River. And this land located next door to where the Innovation Campus is being built was one of the things that really excited us about this site. Our vision is to partner so that we can steward and activate that land in really exciting and creative ways so that it can become an asset for the local and surrounding communities and neighborhoods. That includes opportunities to explore river restoration and habitat work in the Tuolumne River, which is really the lifeblood of the bioeconomy and our community. It starts with water and a healthy water system. And then opportunities to, expand upon the work at the river to support a healthy river system through, pilot and innovation activities on farmland here south of the campus, where we can be demonstrating and developing things related to healthy soil practices and water management, et cetera. I just had a little disruption in my view, and I want to make sure. Oh, here, I'm going to stop share. Sorry, everybody, a little technical difficulty. I'm going to pull it back up. Thanks for your patience. All right. So opportunities basically on this land to think about both innovation activities that support sustainability and water, energy, soil health, as well as conservation, all things that relate to the circular bioeconomy. And excitingly, opportunities to explore educational activities that could take place on this land and connect the broader ecosystem and our community with the technology innovation and assets of the Innovation Campus built up here on this site. So that's our vision and our hope for this campus, and we're really excited to work with many partners to realize this vision. So a little bit about timeline and what happens next on a super practical level with the Innovation Campus. So, right now I've mentioned that we've announced this site. We are finalizing our site agreement and also entering very detailed phase of design and engineering. In the second half of 2026, so over the next 6 months, we will be completing engineering and kicking off phase one, so that initial building. We're also really excited with this webinar to be officially kicking off an extensive series of community engagement activities so that we can get community input to design our visitor center, to think about how we can integrate local art and identity into this Innovation Campus so it truly celebrates the Central Valley and welcomes visitors to our community, and also developing education partnerships and opportunities with the campus. Toward the end of this year and into early 2027, we will be welcoming our first tenants and users at the facility. So early stage entrepreneurs and companies and innovation partnerships who will begin to use the campus. and we'll start our kind of initial phase of visitor activities that we'll be able to support at that initial facility. And then beyond that is where we will be completing the rest of the design, engineering, and construction of the broader campus, which will allow us to expand significantly our community partnerships, our visitor center, and our capabilities for supporting companies at later stages of scale and development of their technologies. All right. So I'm just going to note now, we're going to go over an hour, and it's okay if people need to drop off. We're keeping this recorded, but we do want to make sure we give you as much detail as possible. So I'm going to keep going through our full presentation, and we are likely to go a bit past 7 in case anyone has time sensitivities, so that you can plan accordingly. So how is the campus, the Innovation Campus, going to support job creation? So there's 3 different ways that we think about job impact of the Innovation Campus. At the initial phase, there's construction employment opportunities. I'll chat a little bit more in specifics about how we're ensuring that is creating as many opportunities and benefits for local workers as possible. But there is significant impact, economic and job impact of the construction of this very large project, which through its full development will be over $180 million of investment. We are expecting the campus at full operation to support between 100 and 140 permanent direct jobs at the campus at full operation. And then finally, most importantly, the reason this project is so strategic is that it is designed to catalyze additional job creation by attracting and supporting the growth of new local employers in this growing bioeconomy. So the big target here is hundreds and eventually thousands of jobs in a vibrant regional bioeconomy supported by this really catalytic shared resource. Really importantly, for folks who are less familiar with the bioeconomy, is I know that a lot of what we talk about sounds really technical and scientific, but what's cool is that the jobs in the bioeconomy actually really line up very well with the existing strengths of our current workforce. 80% of the jobs in bio-based manufacturing do not require a college degree. And that lines up with about the percentage of our population that doesn't have a college degree. There are opportunities for good paying jobs at every skill level. Those include jobs in the building trades, in laboratory technicians and research activities, engineering jobs, manufacturing jobs and operational jobs of various types, in business and administration and education and outreach. There's a lot of different types of roles and occupations in the bioeconomy and in this type of bio-based manufacturing and in the direct jobs that will be created at this campus. The jobs on average in bio-based manufacturing pay 40% higher than the median wage here in the North San Joaquin Valley. So although jobs are accessible, they don't necessarily require advanced degrees. There are jobs that are opportunities for higher education levels, but there are accessible jobs that are at, maybe at a high school level, at a certificate level, direct training, community college, et cetera, all these different education levels, but they offer higher wages than the jobs that are currently available here in our region. So that's what makes this opportunity so exciting and accessible to local residents. I wanted to take a note on the first phase of development. So one thing we really believe in at Beam is helping to develop good practices for economic development, including good job practices. So we have a good jobs framework that was developed in partnership with our community steering committee, with input of hundreds of local community members over the last few years, to define what makes a good job. And it's family sustaining wages, but it's also things like benefits and safety and a supportive work environment and good practices related to organized labor and making sure that folks have a right to organize. One practice that we've held up as an example of ways that people can be really good stewards of local project opportunities is through a thing called project labor agreement. So Beam Circular really believes in practicing what we preach when it comes to good practices. And so we're really excited to be collaborating closely with the Valley Building Trades to develop and build the Innovation Campus under a project labor agreement, which ensures that we are creating local jobs, that we are prioritizing skilled union labor, and that the jobs created throughout the construction and development process for the Innovation Campus support family sustaining and quality jobs and safe working conditions. Other ways that we're making sure that the jobs created directly at the campus and over time by the businesses that we support in the growing bioeconomy is through a variety of education and workforce training partnerships. It's really important that we are investing proactively in training so that we can hire locally ourselves, and so that the businesses we're supporting and growing over time can also access fantastic local talent who are prepared to meet the needs of industry and these employers. To date, over the last couple of years, Beam Circular has invested over $2.7 million to support 32 projects across the North San Joaquin Valley. Together, those education and workforce projects, which include things like new equipment and facilities for hands-on learning opportunities, educator professional development, new curriculum development, new certification and degree pathway development. So a bunch of investments that are really catalytic because they're going to serve over 15,000 students and workers over just the next few years. The partners so far in this work have spanned every education and skill level from literally pre-K, like early childhood access to STEM concepts and science, all the way through elementary, middle school, high school, hands-on learning experiences and educator professional development, partnerships with our community colleges, university partners, and workforce training providers like Bolt Institute. So we really work to ensure that we're opening up opportunities across all skill levels that are accessible to local community members, and we're excited to continue to expand these education and training partnerships with institutions across our region to make sure that we're continuing to invest in that local talent pipeline so that these good jobs are accessible to local residents. So I next want to highlight a few opportunities for community involvement in the campus in the development phase, and also importantly, once this thing is operational and is alive here in our community. Opportunities are going to expand and grow at the different phases of this project, but we really want to make sure that community is baked in at every step in every way possible. So the first thing to know is that we really are envisioning this innovation campus not just like any old industry scientific facility or building, but truly a unique celebration of the Central Valley. We want to integrate in local artwork and identity. We would love to hear from you. What are ways that this innovation campus could really be uniquely San Joaquin Valley, could be uniquely the North San Joaquin Valley? How can we uplift the voices and vision and creativity of local communities through the visual identity of this campus and aspects of what we might feature in our visitor center to help folks learn about not just the circular bioeconomy, but also about the magic of our region. So excited about integrating in that community identity and regional voice in the entire design and future programming of the campus. At the Community Visitor Center, we really get into more of those programmatic opportunities. We want to think through ways that we can have space for community to gather, to learn, to explore, and be inspired. We are looking to have workshops with community to help us design out this programming. The campus very much is intended to support learning field trips for students as well as for educators who are really craving. Our local teachers really want to understand this growing industry so that they can bring those practices and ideas into their classrooms. And then we want to have local programming partnership opportunities for community-based organizations. So if you are a local resident and you have a relationship with a community center or an organization that works with your neighborhood, or if you are a member or someone who works with a community serving organization, we'd love to hear from you about how you might imagine opportunities to leverage this new asset in ways that are supportive of local community priorities, we're really excited to get creative about the programming and opportunities here, and then event space. So if you are interested in helping us further explore ways that we can integrate in community partnerships and opportunities for local residents to really participate in and benefit from this campus, we are going to be having a number of upcoming opportunities for you to certainly get more information, but also hopefully give us ideas and feedback and be part of designing what comes next. So we're going to have a series of campus information sessions, both in person and virtual, like this one coming up over the next several months. We'll make sure that as much as possible, we really like going to community. So if you are someone who would like to host an information session, our community team would love to work with you on that. If you have a community group or a group of local residents who just want to like learn more and be part of following along with this project, please let us know. And then, we are going to be also designing some specific opportunities for like design workshops where you can contribute ideas as it relates to the short and absolutely the long-term development and design of this campus. You can scan the QR code here if you're really interested in getting involved specifically in following along with the Innovation Campus or participating in these activities. So there's a QR code there if you want to fill out a little quick thing to tell us who you are and how you might want to be involved. And then our next thing that we're hosting in this series of opportunities to engage is an open house at our offices. So Beam Circular is headquartered in downtown Modesto. We're right around the corner from the Children's Museum for folks who know the Modesto area. And we're really excited to just open our doors to our local neighbors and community members who want to learn more, who want to meet our team, and who want to start offering your ideas and thoughts on ways that this project can really be an opportunity to celebrate and engage with local communities. We have information here on this slide with the details on this event. We will be continuing to post all of the events related to the Innovation Campus and public outreach on our website. So if you don't grab this now, you will be able to find it on our website. We have an events page where you can see upcoming opportunities. Please RSVP so that we can plan and make sure we have space for everybody to connect. And that will be held on July 22nd from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Beam Circular office. We have the address there. It's 1111 High Street in Modesto. And that rounds out the content here that we were hoping to share tonight on the Innovation Campus. There's a number of ways, again, that you can connect, both the opportunities I just mentioned, but also if you we'll be building out over time additional resources online related to the Innovation Campus. So there's a link there called Campus Updates if you want to follow along as we post additional resources. We've recorded this session, so we'll be making that accessible to folks. And then there's also our social media links here on our general website. So I'm going to pause there and Bree, I'll hand it over to you.
Jump in real quick. Yeah. Thank you, Karen, so much for all that information. I'm very, very grateful that you were able to give us all that info and also going over the different community outreach events that we have going on. Really hope that you guys can show up. So I wanted to just read out loud a couple of the questions that we had in the chat. Anna mentioned earlier asked if this is going to be recorded and be sent to you guys. It will be recorded. Also, we have Thomas gave a little comment on this is like a more sophisticated incubator for the area, right? Adrian mentioned that this includes a more sophisticated incubator, but it is more than that, but it is within scope. And then Mohammed, thank you for your question as well. Would the Innovation Campus include analytical quality control and performance test equipment / lab? Yes, it will include all of those things in the Innovation Campus. I do want to note that in case you think of question, if you can't think of a question right now, but you think of one later, Karen, can you go back one slide? You can, and one more slide. This this QR code has a space where you can answer questions. So make sure that you throw them in there and we will reach back out to you with the answers. So yeah, that's the questions that we have right now.
Bree, do you want me to comment on the on any of those questions?
Yes, please. If you had any
Okay.
comments on them.
So there was a question about that says the initial facility has $17 million currently committed. How close are you for the bigger project? What is the timeline for that growth? Great question. So the exciting thing about our initial committed capital is that it allows us to launch phase one. So we are able to activate that initial space and do design and engineering, the kind of like first stages of development on the broader project. We are launching and absolutely activating a broader capital campaign or fundraising campaign for the larger capital that will be required for the next phase of the project. So we're having initial conversations with investors, both public and private, at this phase. And this project very much will require public-private collaboration. So we're in the initial phases of that raise for the future, for the next phase in the build out of that project. This will be a multi-year project build out for expectation setting because this is large in scale. But that's why we're so excited to build in phases and be activating phase one now so that we can bring initial services and offerings online while over the next couple years continuing to build out the design and launch construction on the rest of the project. If you are someone interested in learning more about the capital and fundraising side or getting involved and supporting on that, please reach out. We're happy to have a conversation. There are some really exciting opportunities to partner in a number of different ways on the capital side to bring this project to life.
Great.
And then I think there was kind of an initial, and I think the other question that sort of had a half answer was, is this basically an incubator? And I love that question. So for folks who are less familiar with the concept of an incubator, that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but often an incubator is either a physical space and or services and programming that help early stage startups to grow, or innovators to create startups, sometimes if it's super early stage, that help those early stage companies and small businesses to grow. And so yes, in concept, that is a huge part of what we're doing. And we will have spaces that you could consider incubator level in terms of early stage entrepreneurs or concepts getting access to office space and lab space. What makes this more than a traditional incubator is the scale that we are supporting. So we are moving into further growth companies and folks that are further along in their pathway than you would traditionally think of as being supported by an incubator. So these aren't just folks who are proving something out at lab scale or just early stage technologies. These include more mature companies who are at that, what I talked about as pilot or demonstration scale, where they might have their first customers already. They might actually even have something on the market, but they aren't at large scale yet. They might still be 10 to 20 employees. And they're on a pathway to create hundreds of jobs, but they need to validate their technology at that intermediate pilot demo scale first. So larger equipment, more mature and sophisticated companies, more service offerings than you would think of as being just a traditional incubator, especially because of how integrated this project is with our entire ecosystem of the North San Joaquin Valley, and the opportunity to not just do things on site at the campus, but have direct connections to partnerships and other facilities and collaboration across the broader valley that we're connected with. So because of the nature of both the on-site resources and how connected this is with a broader ecosystem, it's more than what you would probably think of as a traditional incubator space. And then the other thing that makes this unique and more than an incubator space you might find, say, in San Francisco, is the integration also of the community and workforce development side of things. So you've got a lot of different types of activities, companies of larger scale, people siting, renting space, and doing a number of different activities. So larger in scale and more robust in the offerings than you would think of with a traditional incubator space in most cases. But great question. Bree, did I miss any that you wanted me to address?
No, I think you got everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great questions.
Awesome.
All right. I'll go back to our last slide then. I just want to say thank you so much, everyone who attended tonight. If you're watching later, thanks for watching. And we really are so excited about this project, the opportunities that it presents for our community and for innovation in the circular bioeconomy space. Really very grateful to our community steering committee and the dozens and dozens of partners across this region and beyond who have helped shape this project over the last many years with your expertise, your guidance, and your support. So looking forward to keeping you all updated. Hope you can join us for our open house coming up next month or other activities to come.